Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your spark plugs and your spark plug wires on a 2010 Chrysler Town & Country. Now this is the 3.8 liter V6 motor. The plugs I'm using today are Champion, and the plug wires we picked up are these Ultima Select. I recommend, if you don't have one, to pick up a spark plug socket. This is a 5/8. It's got a little rubber grommet in there which will hold on to the spark plugs. And the first thing I like to do before getting started is blow off the area around each spark plug with some compressed air so that no debris falls down into the cylinder once you have the plugs out. This is kind of nice that this is numbered over here. This is cylinder 2, 4, 6, and then in the back is 5, 1, 3. And each of these original spark plug wires are also labeled with numbers on them. The new ones don't have numbers, so you'll just have to match those up. I'm just going to start doing one at a time. Just grab a hold of the plug and wiggle it off. You can see that they're clipped in here as well. Just take off this plug wire completely. And then of course we'll match that up to the same length before we put it back together. And then I've just got the spark plug socket here on this long handle wrench for some leverage to break this loose. And there's our old plug, definitely well used. Just a little side-by-side comparison here. So if you don't have a little spark plug gapper, just pick up one and then run that over to the 50 thousandths. You can always bend it outward if you need to, or tap it down if it's too large. But that's the gap we're going to go with on this one. You'll also notice that there's no crush washer like you do have on a lot of spark plugs. Because of that, the manufacturer is saying right here on the back, without the gasket or washer, tighten it 1/16th turn. They just don't want you to over torque this. The manufacturer specs says 13 foot-pounds. Before I put this in, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. You don't need much, but this will prevent that from getting stuck inside there. So just put the new plug into that socket and carefully feed it back down into the cylinder. Now, something I was taught a long time ago, you never want to use power tools when threading spark plugs in. It's very easy to get them cross-threaded, and then you get into all kinds of trouble. The spark plug manufacturer Champion, if we go with what they say, they're saying a 1/16th of a turn once it's seated. Not quite seated yet. There it is right there. So a 1/16th of a turn is really going to be right to about here. Right there. I've got my torque wrench set to the 13 foot-pounds. I'm wondering if that's going to move it all, or if that's just going to go right to the torque. I know with the anti-seize that might actually screw up the measurement here, but since it's such a low number, I was hoping that it might work. Yeah, that's it. You can go with, I'd say, either the 13 foot-pounds or that 1/16th turn, but that felt good to me. Definitely not over tightened. That should work for this application. So again, just match those up as best you can with the new plug wires. The replacement wire is slightly longer. This little packet of dielectric grease, this little dab right here is supposed to be enough to do all 6. So we'll just put a teeny little dab like that on the inside, and then sometimes you can just kind of squish this or squeeze this around to spread that grease around on the inside. So just come down to the spark plug and press that in place until you hear it click or feel it click. And then over here at this end, just press it on, same thing, until you feel it click or seat into place. And then this has got this little plastic clip that it snaps into, kind of keeps the spark plugs from rubbing on anything or arcing. Next one here, cylinder number 4. Same thing, just wiggle that spark plug wire off, and we're going to unclip it and pull it out of here. Get it broken loose here with this long handle extension. Take out the old one. I'll put in another new one. Get some anti-seize on there. And then we'll just carefully thread that back down. And again, we can go with either that 1/16 of a turn or with the torque wrench. Since I've got this, it's set to 13 pounds and the anti-seize doesn't seem to be affecting the torque, or it's very, very close, or doesn't seem to be affecting it much. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with the torque wrench on each of these. Right there. And of course that was about a 1/16 of a turn. Just do your best to match these up. The lengths aren't exactly the same. You can find the one that's closest to the stock length. And then come down here, just press it onto the plug until you feel it click. And then over here, same thing, just press it on until you feel it click. And here I'm just kind of sliding the boot up a little bit more after it clicks, just to make sure that that stays on. And then this piece right here, snap it back into that spark plug holder. Last one that we're doing on this front bank. Same thing, just unclip that and pull it off of the coil here. Now you can see this part right here, this just slides onto this stud right there in the valve cover that holds them clipped in place. Here's our old plug on number 2. Got the new one here. Really close to 50 thousandths, but I'm just sliding it open just a little bit more. Get our anti-seize on here. Just put it back into that spark plug socket and right down into the cylinder head again. Just snap that into place and right over here into the coil, and then this. But that's pretty much everything for the first side. We'll move on to the back. Alright, I'm going to do the back 3 a little bit different. You can see we still have, this is nicely labeled for us, 513 on the back, and these plug wires are labeled as well. But if we come around here, you can see that they're clipped in place with this nice little plastic holder. What I think I'll do is just take all 3 out at once. Just reach in the back here and pull the plug wires off of each of the spark plugs. Oh, that one's on there really tight. There's 1, 2, and then number 3. Well, it's not number 3, cylinder 5. And there's our last one. Okay, so I've got all the plugs pulled off. Again, I was saying 1, 2, 3, but it's not what I meant. There was cylinder 1, cylinder 3, and cylinder 5. In the order of the bank of the motor, it goes 1, 3, and 5. But over here, remember on your connections here, it's 5, 1, and 3. What we'll do is we're going to just disconnect these off of our coil. And then we're going to pull all 3 of these wires at once. See this piece of plastic? It just, right there, just popped off of that stud, just like in the front. And we just got to pull that off and fish the whole thing out. We'll unclip this, put in our new plug wires. We'll put this back in and hook all 3 up at once. But this way we'll be able to at least make sure we don't mess up our order. These plastic things here are labeled too, so hopefully even I can't mess this one up. I'm going to set those aside for right now while we change the plugs out. So here again, I'm just using that same extension and just reaching around the motor so you can feel that spark plug. There. Just make sure that it's seated on it. Spark plug completely before you try to turn it, and then we'll just carefully loosen that. There we go. And there's the first one in the back. Get our new one in there. Get it gapped to 50 thousandths. And then here's where it's tricky because you can't see, but we just got to get this started just like the front ones. And let's see if we can get the torque wrench in here. There it is. Now for the next one here, again, it's just kind of by feel. I'm just kind of holding the camera back here. Once you feel the spark plug socket seat on there, we're going to try to get our wrench on here. Need to use another small extension to get around this this line here. Just carefully break that loose. And there you have cylinder number 3. Get some anti-seize on there. And again, the idea behind this is so that the spark plugs don't get stuck in the head. So in the future you'll be able to take them out. And we'll just carefully put that back down, thread it in there carefully. And then again our torque wrench here. Doesn't take much. You can see that's about that 1/16 of a turn that the spark plug manufacturer is recommending. Alright, and then our last plug is over here. Right there. There we go. Now these are all pretty consistently gapped. They're all right about 50 thousandths. They looked like they were just a little close. Just open them up just a little bit. It's mostly by feel, but I'm kind of using the camera to cheat. I guess you could also use a little mirror to look back and see where these spark plugs are going. Get our torque wrench back on there, and then that's it for the spark plugs. Let's bring him back out over here. We'll get these wires lined up and ready to go back in. Okay, so here's our setup right here. I guess it goes like this. So these are the ends that go on the coil, and then these are the ends that go on the spark plugs. And you can see that these are just little clips. And so I've just grabbed a flathead screwdriver here, and I'm just trying to pop it in there, see if I can't separate this without breaking it. Well, we did break it, so looks like it'll still clip back down, and for the most part these channels do grab onto the plugs. So if you're able to do this without breaking it, that would be great. There we go. Still very brittle. Looks like maybe the key is to pry in between here. Get it to release. There we go. But once you get those clips open, we can just match up our plug wires. So here's our shortest one here. So it looks like it's going to go right in here. Go ahead and this is not exact placement as far as like the length here in the front, but we'll get it pretty close. Okay, and then we'll just snap those clips back down. Even this one that broke off, I'm just going to put it on there. Still kind of works, still kind of holding it in place. So let's take this back up and see if we can't line it back up and make sure we get everything right. Might have to pull this one out just a little bit, or I might have to take this one out and reposition it, but I think we'll be alright. Now, just like the front, I'm going to put some of this dielectric grease on each of these spark plug boots before we put these in. Easier to do before we put this harness back in. And you see they're slightly off here at this end because 3 over here is the farthest away, 5 is the closest, 1 is in the middle. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna kind of bring this back down. Okay, now we've got it fished back through here. I don't know if you can see this little stud down here. This basically sits on these studs. Once you get one started, the other 2 will kind of just drop it into place, and that just almost snaps right on. We'll start with the number 5. So number 5 goes on right here. So here's our number 3. That's the longest or the farthest distance over here. So let's just pull that on, snap it in place, and I'm just going to snug that boot up a little bit. And then now our number 1 here. Make sure you just get those on each of the spark plugs. Push them on until you feel them snap. Make sure you got the right ones. This is number 3. Snapped in place. And then the last one here, number 5. Done. But that's pretty much everything. Just remember to double check all of the connections and make sure you got everything in the correct order before starting it up. Hope you liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description where you can pick up some of these parts and tools as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.